Okay, some breaking news seems to be coming in. Reports of a hostage situation seem to be developing in Paris. According to the news agency's AFP, it's reporting that gunmen are holding up a store with some 10 people inside. And this store is located near Paris. That's the latest that's coming in. Let's get in a word from Deputy Editor Shiv Arur, who joins us. Shiv, I know these are very initial moments, but what more can you tell us about what you're hearing on this hostage situation?
Disparate reports coming in from this is a suburb of Paris called Haute-Seine, Smita, where a clothing store called Primark is apparently where this hostage situation is currently playing out. Now, according to some local reports, including AFP, it is understood that at least 10 people are being held hostage inside that store by at least 3 or 4 gunmen. The exact number is not known at this time. We do know that on French television at this point of time, there are reporters giving in phone reports saying that there could be at least 10 gunmen who've surrounded the shop. Some of them are inside. They're all armed and dangerous, and there is a hostage situation inside. This is a fairly large store. Primark is a well-known clothing brand which has branches all over France. This one in a fairly affluent Paris suburb called Haute-Seine, where this particular incident is playing out. The precise nature of the hostage situation is not known. The exact motive is not known. The choice of the choice of target is also not explained at this particular point of time, or who these people are. The important point to note here is that there are some reports saying that these are criminal elements. There are others saying that this is a terror-related hostage situation, but we're at this point of time unable to confirm precisely the nature of this particular attack. Not very far from Paris, and remember, coming less than a year after the Charlie Hebdo incident, Smita, obviously there's a great deal of alarm in Paris. We can confirm that there are apparently at least 10 people inside this particular store. The police in Paris have apparently issued a statement saying there are some people there. This is a live situation. All of the persons holding these people hostage are armed at this point of time. The French police are on site at this point of time, but there's no further information immediately on the circumstances of this hostage situation. We're waiting for more information.
Do we also have any idea if this is a standalone store shift that we are talking about, or is it, a store maybe in some other multi-storied building? Because this might also be a robbery attempt, as you were pointing out.
Absolutely. It doesn't appear to be a standalone store, Smita. We're just looking at pictures of this particular branch, the branch of this particular building in that Paris suburb, and it appears to be part of some kind of a strip mall or a larger building. But precisely how these people actually gained entry into this, if it was indeed a mall, is inexplicable at this point. Because remember, post-Charlie Hebdo, security in France has been almost at a maximum for all commercial and office establishments. Checking and alert levels have been extremely high. The Primark branch itself obviously hasn't been marked as a sensitive establishment, even though journalistic establishments have been in the past. This particular one, it is unknown. Was this a robbery? Was this some kind of random bloodletting by a terror group? All of those details are not known just yet. But we understand that the Paris police has just said that there is a hold-up at this shop with 10 people inside. They've confirmed that there are at least 10 people inside that store. At least at this point of time, Smita, it doesn't appear to be a robbery attempt, because the gunmen appear to be holding people inside hostage at this point of time. So any further details, we're going to have to wait for those.
It looks like, Shiv, what I see, in fact, now opening up on the BBC side, is that French police sources have said that this was said to be a robbery attempt. But also clearly, when we talk about gunmen holding people, at least 10 people hostage there. So is there any estimate on the number of gunmen there really in this store, Shiv?
They are apparently holed up inside the Primark store near Paris, Smita. So the exact number of the persons armed with these guns is not known at this time. There's a Telegraph. I can quote from a Telegraph report that says that 2 or 3 armed criminals went into the Primark store for what the newspaper thinks was initially an attempt at armed robbery. That's what a police source has told the Telegraph. at the point that this article just went up on the internet about 10 minutes ago. But this may be an escalating situation because remember, 2 or 3 persons armed with assault rifles are inside that store. 10 persons who may be shop employees as well as customers are also inside that store and are confirmed to be hostages. Now, what the demands are, whether this is an armed robbery attempt, is still not known at this point of time. All we do know is that this is a live situation. The police have surrounded that particular area, and there will be more backup arriving on location in a very short time from now.
Absolutely. Shivaru, stay with us on the phone line. For viewers who are joining us right now, this is the big story playing out on your television screens, the story that is actually a developing situation in France's Paris, and it's a store in Paris which seems to have, is at the center here because reports coming in that gunmen have taken at least 10 people hostage inside this Primark store which is near Paris. And it is a developing story. We do not know as to how many gunmen could be there, but there is definitely more than one is what we are being told. And it's a brand store of Primark in the near Paris, of course, but clearly not sure yet if this is only a criminal incident that we are looking at, if this is a terror incident, or if this is a criminal incident that went wrong and perhaps developed into something worse. Police sources initially had suggested to some of the international press that this seemed like a robbery attempt. But if it was indeed just a robbery attempt, why the gunmen are holding people hostage now is something we are trying to find answers for. Shiv Arul continues to be on the line with us. Shiv, any idea what is the kind of security setup that is coming into play right now, and also if any sort of a contact has been established with these gunmen who are holding people hostage?
None so far, at least, Smitha. What we can confirm, in fact, not through French reports but through British reports, is that the French police are on site. They've cordoned off the entire area. This is the Haute suburb.
Stay with us. I'm joined here by Dhananjay, who is a journalist based in Dhananjay is joining us from Paris on the phone line. Dhananjay, if you could give us a sense of what is playing out on the ground right now.
Well, as you know, according to latest reports, armed robbers were holding at least 10 people hostage at a Primark store. It's at a place which is not exactly in Paris, but north of Paris. And the hostages they are believed to be holding, or the hostages are supposed to be the members of the staff from the store. And as you mentioned in your report earlier, that police units have been sent to the scene, and that's all. That's the information I have till now.
Any clue as of now, Dhananjay, whether this is a criminal incident that we are looking at? It's a terror incident. How are police sources, in fact, gauging this incident at the moment?
Well, it's too early to say. I mean, the information is not out. So I think right now, whatever we speak about, I think it will be purely speculative. So I think we should wait and see what information the police gives us, because right now it's, as I said, it's a bit early.
Could you tell us anything about this location, whether it's an area which has a lot of residential complexes, whether it's essentially an industrial or a shopping complex, any specifics about the area? Because there's also one picture, in fact, that we are playing out on your television screens that we seem to have obtained, which is of that spot where we clearly see a high presence of security forces at the moment.
Well, this area is located in the northern suburbs of Paris. It's about 10 kilometers from Paris. As I mentioned, it's not exactly within Paris. It's a bit outside, and it's near the Saint-Denis commune. I don't know if you are aware of this, the exact geography of Paris. So yeah, it's basically outside Paris. It's a suburb of Paris. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, Dhananjay Khandalkar, many thanks for having joined us with that update. So there is that latest picture that we are playing out on the television screens for you that seems to be from Paris. Remember, France has witnessed a series of high-profile terror incidents, especially over the last year and a half. Those Charlie Hebdo killings, also that attack near a gas factory in Lyon in June this month, which was precisely on 26th of June, in fact, this year. But we do not know as of now whether it's a terror incident, terror situation that we are looking at currently, or it's an armed robbery gone wrong. Shiv Arur is back on the phone line with us, Deputy Editor, with more details. Shiv, what are you grabbing in a sense from whatever is playing out across international stations or social media at the moment?
As you can see in these in this one image that we've been able to get from local media at this point of time, Smita, the police there in full force outside the Primark branch in that Paris suburb. They've completely surrounded that particular area. We understand that the police may be in a position to now be in touch with the armed gunmen inside that Paris store. Now, whether they were armed criminals, thieves, or terrorists is not known at this time, but we're expecting that to become clear in just a short while from now. Multiple sources informing both local and international media that the initial sense is that this was armed robbery. But of course, that cannot be confirmed just at this point of time. But here's a picture of the store itself. Gives you a sense of where this hostage situation is currently playing out. It's a Primark is an Irish clothing brand which has stores all across Europe, and this one is in that Paris suburb where those 2 to 3 gunmen have actually infiltrated. They've taken at least 10 people hostage, which may or may not include customers of the store as well. Their demands not known at this time. What they want not known at this time. Is it just that they are robbing the store and want safe passage out of that particular area? Is not specifically known at this time, Smita. But what we do know is that this store is not understood to have been a target of any kind. This particular area is a fairly affluent part of Paris, but no sensitive establishments in that sense in this particular area. So whether this was a message or just an armed robbery is something that the police are dealing with in Paris at this point of time. But they've secured the entire location. They've asked for evacuations of the surrounding buildings in that particular area as well. So this is a live and emergent situation, and the police are on site to take care of it.
Yes, Shiv, stay with us. For viewers joining us right now, you see those first pictures that India Today has managed to access. It is near Paris, and it's actually to the north of Paris that we are talking about this Primark store, which is a prominent fashion accessories brand, which of course has stores all over France. So this is one of the Primark stores, and we are just trying to give you a picture of where exactly this hostage situation is playing out at the moment, even as we talk. And also a picture of the kind of security forces that have been dispatched and are at the spot trying to, of course, find a way out of this hostage situation. Clearly, in terms of protocol, Shiv, the priority would be safe evacuation of civilians or of people who were perhaps there on the store working or just out for buying products or for shopping. But, if this had been a terror situation, we've seen mostly a pattern to terror situations in the past, be it in New York, in Sydney, in Paris, even if it was a lone wolf kind of a situation where there would be some signs, maybe a flag, maybe some kind of a statement being made. So far, at least none of that has been reported here.
Absolutely. Nothing so far to indicate any particular terrorist group, the ISIS or the Al-Qaeda or any of that sort, even though there have been, incidents in France in the recent past that, have necessitated an elevated level of alert in the country as far as terror groups are concerned. In this particular instance, it appears to be an armed robbery for now. That could change at any moment once, the circumstances and the specifics of this particular hostage situation actually emerge. We can confirm now, we've got some new information in Smita that confirms. We've got an ITV report that says that all 10 hostages inside that store appear to be staff members of the Primark store in that particular Paris suburb, and it says that those 10 people are unaccounted for, which means they've been taken somewhere inside the store by these particular gunmen. Their condition is not known at this time. It cannot be confirmed because the police surrounding this particular store haven't gotten a visual. They haven't been able to currently establish any kind of communication or contact with these particular armed persons inside that store. Now, no eyewitnesses so far have stepped forward about who these people are, what they looked like, whether they were of French nationality or from the outside. None of that is known at this point of time. But you could hazard a guess that in this kind of situation, apart from the regular police, called in and deployed to secure that area, you will, of course, have an anti-terror unit also in Paris. You will also have at least some kind of special forces unit in that place to, perhaps consider storming that area once the hostages have actually been secured. But like you absolutely rightly pointed out, the top priority at this point for the police and any other units deployed there will be the safety of those hostages. That will be of paramount importance at this point of time, which is why communicating with the hostage takers will be the priority at this time.
Absolutely, Shiv. Stay with us. Remember, the time difference between Paris and New Delhi is 3.5 hours. So Paris is 3.5 hours behind IST. It's around 15 minutes past 10 local time in Paris at the moment. Monday morning, just 15 minutes past 10 perhaps. The store had only just opened when this hostage situation started playing out. We do not know as of now whether it is a terror situation or not, but police obviously leaving no stone unturned, and security forces in high numbers have been dispatched to this store. But what we do know is this Primark store, where this situation is a volatile one and playing out at the moment on the ground, that essentially these were staff members within the store who have been taken hostage, because Monday morning one perhaps would not expect that kind of a crowd, especially just around the time that the store was opening. But for now, the staff members in this store really have been taken hostage by more than one gunman. So we do not know the exact head count as far as the gunmen are concerned. We also at this point do not know if an initial sort of contact has been established with the gunmen or not and the security forces, because the priority here as per any standard protocol for these kind of situations is to minimize civilian casualties, to ensure that the hostages are released. So Paris, which has witnessed a string of terror incidents, especially with the last 2 years. A lot of them have been lone wolf kind of attacks as well, which were essentially terror attacks. Here we do not know whether this can be called a terror attack as of now or not, because initially police sources seem to suggest to international media that this was a robbery attempt, but that seems to have terribly gone wrong. Shiv, also in terms of the location of this place, do we have any more details if there are residential complexes around this area, if the area has been cordoned off?
Absolutely, Smitha. This is a fairly upscale suburb of Paris, so not very far from where this particular hostage crisis is playing out. There are residential areas of this place which are in Paris proper, actually, but in a radius of about 1.5 kilometers, that particular area has been completely evacuated. We're getting pictures, as you can see on your screen, of the French police on site at this point of time. We can also confirm the question that you asked me earlier, Smitha, about whether this was a standalone store or a mall. We can confirm now that it was part of this particular store is part of the Quartz Mall in this particular area. So it's a fairly large mall where this hostage crisis is actually playing out. So obviously this means that the entire mall would have been evacuated by this point of time. It continues to be an emergent situation. There are some local reports saying that the number of hostages may be more than 10. Of course, this is impossible to confirm at this point of time, because even the police aren't getting very many visual cues at this point of time of what's happening inside the store. It's a fairly large store. A Primark store is like a large clothing store. It's multi-story as well. So we understand that the gunmen may be on a different floor altogether. What we do know, and like I said before, we can confirm that special forces units and an anti-terror unit is also on site at this Paris store as this situation actually develops, Smita.
Sure, Shiv Arur getting us there all those details, of course, from Paris, where remember this situation is a developing story that we continue to track. No confirmations yet exactly of the number of armed men inside the store, the pictures of which that we are trying to put across to you so that you have a sense of where it is that the hostage situation is playing out. Remember, Paris is 3.5 hours behind Delhi time. It's around around 20 minutes past 10 o'clock this Monday morning in Paris, and it's the north of Paris where this particular store is located. It's inside a Quads mall. Security forces, of course, have been deployed on the ground, perhaps trying to establish contact with these armed men who are believed to have taken 10 or more hostages. So at least 10 or more hostages that have that are reported from inside the store. Very, in fact, initial information which is trickling in at this point. You can see on the one hand side through the map of France, we are trying to show to you maybe the rough spot where this hostage situation is playing out at the moment, but also the other visual where you can see those blue cars and vehicles with security forces. Rapid action teams have been now deployed. Primark is this fashion accessory store who has, of course, they have outlets all over France, but it is the store near north of Paris that we are looking at inside the Quads mall, where mostly there were staff members who have been taken hostage.